Okay, I got a handheld Mobius just to show you this. This is the arm that broke off yesterday. What I did is basically super glued it back on just to hold it in place. And once that's set, I cut some little aluminum tubing, a couple of inches long, tie wrapped it on to hold it, and then used the good old JB weld, which is set up now, and did the worst possible job I could epoxying those aluminum rods in there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave the tie wraps on now. I'm going to put the motor back on, and I think I'll try, I got to glue the lights down and do the calibration. I also have to come up with a better mount for the altimeter thing here to mount that on. And as you can see, I used tie wraps to hook the motors on. They seem fairly tight. I mean, really secure. And I used the tie wraps because the screws that came with the motors, although the holes do line up. The mounting holes, you can see on this one, the 4 mounting holes, they do line up with the motors from the blade, but the screws are too short. So I would have to find out what type of screw threads these are and get longer ones to actually use the screws. But I'm in experimental mode, so I'm just going to tie wrap the motor on the one that broken. I'm going to tie wrap that back down there. I'm also going to come up with some sort of a little bridge to go up and over here to put the GPS antenna to get it on top of the battery, and of course do a little bit better mount for the battery, and then we'll see what happens after that. So more later. Okay, I'm back with the Mobius for my documentation. Just a quick update. Here's the repaired part. I've just removed the external LEDs from each of the ESCs. I don't need them on this. This is an experiment. What I did is I made some little plastic mounts. There's the altimeter, just a piece of black plastic cut and thermal molded. In other words, I used a heat gun to bend it over a vise. GPS antenna, this is just tie wrapped, the circuit is tie wrapped to the board. The antenna is double sticky taped to another piece of molded piece of black plastic. I've got the rear LED, again, piece of molded black plastic, just double sticky taped everything together on there. I noticed the propellers, especially this one, it used to be a black one. What it had is one side of it kind of like swooped up like this. I'm pretty sure it was like that when I got it, because I don't think you can't really bend, I mean, these things are pretty flexible. I don't think you could bend it permanently by using it in something like, well, it was almost like that on one side, so I think it was the molding error. And the only ones I had to replace it with were the green ones. So now we have green ones where the black ones used to be. We still got the orange ones in the front. Everything is secured. I've got the little ferrite beads wire tied down so they don't vibrate themselves loose. Here's the repaired part. I mentioned previously that this is much stiffer now than these others. If you wiggle them, this one is stiffer now that it's reinforced. I toyed with the idea of just doing all of them, just to equal them up, and I changed my mind. Also put little stickers on the bottom for the switch, on and off, because I didn't know which way to, oh, now it's on, now it's off. And also put a label up here, so when I reach my hand underneath, I find the switch, I can tell which way to turn it. That way is on. Beep. And it should go into bind mode because I don't have a retransmitter on. And off again. I'm ready to try it. Give it a shot out on a big field, hopefully with some soft dirt for the inevitable not completely controlled landing. What I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Horizon Hobby has all the motherboard or control board, whatever you call it, it's down inside of there. You probably can't see it that well there, but anyway, the control board has all the gains for response set up for a much lighter quadcopter. This body, well, here's my broken body. It's non-repairable at this point, but anyway, this body is about a fifth of the weight of just this frame. The frame is like I say, much heavier. So, and I've also got a larger battery. This is a 4,000 milliamp 3-cell, because it's going to take more juice to lift this thing off. And I wanted to try to get at least 5 or 6 minute flying time. So I think they've got the gains set for this for the lightweight body. So when this thing starts to go to drift in one direction and another, if it does drift, and I'm pretty sure it's going to, because see my if I pick it up center weight, maybe it is balanced pretty good. If I tied a string to it, it should be pretty well balanced. But anyway, I think they have the gain set up for a much lighter weight frame with these props much closer together. Let's see if I can show you this thing here. Superimpose it, as it were. Let me get up here. Now, if we just do it this way, let's see, the props are about 1.5 inches further out from the arms. Still an X pattern, but yeah, they're about 1.5 inches further out than the original body. And they're still the 8 by 4.5s. So these things have to spin much faster to get this thing to lift off the ground. So it's not open source on their board, so obviously I can't change the gains. But what I can do is change the props. These are only the 10 amp ESCs that Blade has. I'm not going to go to the expense of replacing the ESCs with larger ones because I don't know how it would work. But anyway, somebody else I'd read somewhere that they put I think it was a 30 amp ESC on these, and what was it, 700 and some kV motors. I don't even know what kV these are. I'd have to look at the books. And put larger props on. So I'll go out and see what happens in the big open field and see what it's going to take to lift off. Might even try the programming to bind it with GPS disabled so I can get my altitude hold. But first I'm going to try it hopefully with the GPS on and locked in, just to see what it'll do at a low altitude. By the way, this little plastic bracket here that I got the GPS antenna on, I made one first out of a piece of aluminum, and I had that bent and screwed down, wire tied down. But I don't know how the aluminum would work with the GPS, since the original one, everything is plastic, so I took the aluminum one off, I use that, and made it out of the plastic. So, oh yeah, I didn't mention I got the altimeter on a little bracket. Just wire tied the extra wire out of the way there. So I think I'm ready to go out and try it in a field. Hopefully won't crash too hard and break something else. But yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna post this one and get your interest going, PQ'd, to see what happens on the flight. So anyway, I'll post this and catch y'all later. Bye bye.